Welcome to the Free Flowing Health Podcast, where we invite you to embark on a transformative journey towards a healthier, happier, more fulfilling life. Each episode brings you a dynamic exploration of the diverse aspects of health, wellness, and healing. I'm your host, Lisa Brown. Join me as I engage in intimate conversations with inspirational guests who share their unique stories and insights. These conversations will take you beyond conventional thinking, encouraging you to break free from the constraints of a one-size-fits-all healing approach. Our mission is to empower you with the knowledge, tools, and motivation needed to inspire real change. Are you ready? Let's dive in. I have a very special guest for today's show. His name is Stanley Bronstein out of Scottsdale, Arizona. He's an attorney, a CPA, broker, author of multiple self-help books, certified health coach, creator of a personal development system called The Way of Excellence. And he's here to talk about his incredible weight loss journey. At one point, Stanley topped the scales at nearly 400 pounds. Overcoming his own inertia, Stanley realized that he was in charge of his own destiny and that he had what it took to do what it takes to get in shape. Welcome to the show, Stanley. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think you about covered it. Except when you say nearly 400, it was 360. It was 367, so I still had a little ways to go.
Yeah, I completely exaggerated that. So I first learned about you on the Movement podcast. I'm a huge fan of Steven Sashen and Zero Shoes. And then we connected on LinkedIn, I believe it was. I was once on your podcast. We'll have to do that again. And it's an honor and privilege to have you here today to share your story in a raw, real, open, and vulnerable way. So that being said, I'd love to just dive right into the beginning of your story. So what was it like living with obesity and how did it occur?
Okay. It was not fun, as you can imagine. The fun aspects of it were the food was delicious. I was a great cook, but not a chef, but a great cook. I knew what I was doing. I'd make my own food, but it was not healthy food. And I would eat and eat and eat and eat. All of this started, if you want to go back to the way beginning.
Way to the beginning.
Okay, it started when I was 8 years old. When I was 8 years old, my mother died. And like any typical 8-year-old kid, that messes with your head. Well, I was left living with my father, who was massively obese. I mean, I don't know his exact weight, but he had to be a good 350. And he was massively obese. And we were living together. And while I love my father and I'm not mad at my father, we ate our grief. We ate ourselves into oblivion. And
Was your father obese, prior to the death of your
yeah,
mother, or was that?
he was prior to it, for forever. I mean, I never knew him not being obese.
And did your
And
mother suffer from health issues? What was the
yeah,
cause of her demise?
my mother had health issues also. Um, First of all, she was overweight, but she had diabetes, she had kidney issues, and we don't know for sure. We think a lot of it stemmed from back when she was a young child. She emigrated from Russia, and they had to put her in quarantine after the immigration process because she got really sick. I think all of her hair fell out. And this is when she was like 2, 3 years old, a young girl. And we think that may have messed with her, as well and created health issues on down the line. And she too did not eat a healthy diet. None of us did. We didn't know what a healthy diet was. We knew what a tasty diet was. And my father was a butcher in his own grocery store, so meat was plentiful,
How ironic.
you know, and and all those things. And so that's kind of where everything got started. And plus, when all this happened, it was right when microwave ovens were first coming. I mean, I remember, well, actually, it was afterwards, but I remember when I was a teenager, when microwave ovens came out, my father and I went to town with that microwave and the stuff that we would cook and all those things. And we just ate and ate and ate and ate and ate. Then, when I went to college, University of Texas in Austin, went to college. My freshman year, I was a pretty big boy. Around my junior year, I went on Nutrisystems, and I didn't I didn't follow the system, but I essentially went on a version of a keto diet where I was eating chicken every day and that type of thing. And I lost a lot of weight, and I got down to close to 200 pounds. And I would say when I went to college, I wasn't my full 367. I was probably 275, at the time when I started college. And I got down to probably 200 pounds. And it was amazing how, girls started looking at me a little bit better and, became more popular and that kind of thing. But I was doing okay. Then I was on a car trip with a friend of mine, and it was an 8-hour car trip. And he was driving, and I was sitting in the back seat because there was another person there too. And in the back seat, there was a bag of cookies. And I'll eat one, which turned into two, which turned into five, which turned into 10, which turned into I ate something else the next day, the next day, the next day, the next day. Next thing you know, put all that weight back on.
Question before you continue, was this disordered eating a result of emotional, mental issues? Could you pinpoint the reason why you would overeat and
I would
not move
say,
towards?
I would say because I didn't put food in its proper place. See, I have since come up with a concept that I call purpose-driven eating. And I have a nice flow chart on it and everything else. Purpose-driven eating. I'll ask you, Lisa, what is the purpose of the food we eat?
To nourish our bodies from the inside out,
To fuel our bodies. I say to
to
fuel
fuel our
our
bodies.
same thing.
Yes.
That is the purpose of our food. Is the purpose of that is the primary purpose of our food. Okay, now with all that said and done, I used to think the primary purpose of my food was to satisfy me emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
despite the fact it would make me feel horrible afterwards. I mean, I can think of times where I sit there laying in the bed going, oh, please go away. I'll never do this again, only to do it again the next day.
So there's like
And
an addictive type of style pattern that just kind of guided your
yeah, but
motivation.
I hesitate to use the word addictive
Yeah. Okay.
just because I'll give you an example, and we'll get into this when we start talking about alcohol. You know, I used to drink too much scotch, and I decided I was going to quit drinking scotch. I quit immediately and never haven't had another drink since. So if I would have been addicted to that scotch, I would have had withdrawal symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have physical withdrawal symptoms. I might have had emotional withdrawal systems, missing it and that type of thing. But we'll get into that a little bit more.
Okay.
But so I started eating those things. Food is supposed to be fuel. That is the primary purpose of food. Now, with all that said and done, a secondary purpose of food is to provide us enjoyment, social interaction, all those types of things. Now, the problem is when that becomes your primary thing, you're messed up. You potentially have a problem because what I have learned over the years is that there's nothing wrong with taking enjoyment from your food. I ate my breakfast 2 hours ago, and I can promise you nobody enjoyed their breakfast more than I did. I enjoyed it very much. Nothing wrong with that. But it was all healthy food that fueled my body. So the food filled both my primary purpose, which was to fuel my body, and my secondary purpose, which was to give me pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, all those things integrated. So I put the weight back on. Then I am graduated from college. Um, was out in the working world doing those things. Um, I started ballooning up and ballooning up, ballooning up. I got to, by the age of 28 or so, I maxed out at 367 pounds. Around that time, I was working with my older brother, and this will show you how, things happen sometimes. I was a CPA at the time. I had already become a CPA, and I was working with my older brother in real estate. We got in an argument one day over a legal matter. I used to draw up our legal documents, leases and that kind of thing. And we disagreed about something. And he says, "You're not a lawyer." And I said, "You're absolutely right. I'm not a lawyer, but I still think I'm right." And he says, "You know what you ought to do?" And I said, "What?" He says, "You ought to go to law school." And I said, "Okay."
You're right.
And that's in the middle of an argument. And I said, so I think that we always need to keep an open mind, because just because somebody may be full of crap when they're talking doesn't mean a word of wisdom isn't coming out of their mouth. I think he was totally off base in that conversation, but I think he was totally on base in telling me I should go to law school. And I'm glad I listened. And it took me 4 years because I went part-time at night, but I got that, and that was over 30 years ago. And I've been a lawyer since then. And
What kind
in
of lawyer?
tax and real estate.
Cool.
And my job is to keep you out of trouble, not to go looking for trouble, and not to get you into trouble. And not to get you out of, sorry, not to get you out of trouble. I don't like to cause problems. I like to avoid problems. And I take that same approach now with my health. And I take the same approach when I advise clients, because I also coach clients, as to proper eating and the mental aspects, um, personal development, personal excellence. And that's what I love about you so much, and why I follow you, and I'm always interacting on your Facebook posts, because I like you, and I think what you do. I think you're on point. I think this lady gets it. She knows what she's doing, and you have a tremendous spirit, and I like that. And I'm a believer that it's not just the food we put in our bodies, it's the thoughts we put in our head, and it's the people we surround ourselves with.
Right. Can you paint a
All
picture? Can you paint a picture prior to making the changes then? So in addition to the overeating and that emotional component, what your lifestyle choices were like, what your social
Sure.
environment was like, the other
Okay,
factors that
okay,
contributed.
okay, okay, absolutely. Typical day. Get up in the morning, eat a huge breakfast. A lot of times it was eggs and stuff like that. All very high protein related, but cholesterol related too. Eggs, that type of thing. Lunch, Chinese buffet. Pig out at a Chinese buffet. I was the kind of person, you'd walk into the Chinese buffet, and the owner of the restaurant would see you coming, and they were scared. They go, we're gonna lose money on this guy. And then I'd go home, and I'd make chili. I had a good friend who died at the age of 58, which is, that's going to play into this story, coming along, and when I tell you about my epiphany. But
Mm-hmm.
we used to make chili, and we would make big, huge pot of chili. It would have um, 2 pounds of ground turkey. We didn't use beef; we used turkey. So we were fooling ourselves, thinking we were doing better. Ground turkey. Then we'd have a pound or two of turkey sausage. Once again, turkey sausage has got to be healthier than beef sausage. Put that in there, and we'd make it all over rice. We'd make a big pot, and between the two of us, we'd kill that thing.
Wow.
And that was a typical thing. Then I would wake up in the middle of the night, and I would eat another meal in the middle of the night, 2, 3 in the morning. I'm telling you, anybody who wants to know how you can get up to 367 pounds, it's hard work. It doesn't happen automatically. You have to work for it, and you have to earn it. And believe me, I earned it.
You engage in any physical activity at this point? Were you making any decent lifestyle choices?
very, very little.
Okay.
I mean, I would,
So
you
those are
know,
contributing factors to
yeah,
obviously you
very,
putting
very,
on the
very
weight.
little. I would buy an exercise bike and, try to do 20, 30 minutes on the exercise bike, and that would last a week,
Hmm.
and then you stop doing it, kind of thing. You'd go to the gym, you'd move a few machines around, and you fool yourself into thinking you're getting a workout, and you're not. But no, none of those things. And anytime I did get on kicks where I made changes and started exercising and started eating a little bit less and eating a little bit better, the problem was my changes were only temporary. And what I have come to realize and as soon as I would stop doing what I was doing, the weight would come back on with a vengeance and it would be even worse. And temporary changes yields temporary results. Permanent changes yield permanent results. The minute in my life I said, no more, I'm done, that's when things changed permanently.
What was the motivating factor? How did you get to that point where you were completely sick and fed up and said, no more?
Okay. I was 49 and a half, 4 months before my 50th birthday. It was February 1st, 2009. Remember the date, remember the time, early in the morning.
Coming up on that anniversary. Yep.
Yeah, it is. It's today's January 27th. I'm getting ready to celebrate my 15th rebirth day
Woohoo.
in a few days, and I'm going to celebrate it by walking a marathon again. But we'll get into that.
That, yep.
So I woke up. It was probably 6 in the morning, something like that. And I had been thinking about this for a while. And February 1st was interesting because I'm a big believer in round numbers and stuff, So, January had already passed. It was too late to make my New Year's resolution, kind of thing. So I sat there and I turned to my wife and I said, I'm done playing this game. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I said. So pardon my language here. I said, I'm going to stop tolerating bullshit in my life. And the number one person I'm going to stop tolerating it from is myself. And the second person I'm going to stop tolerating it from is you. And just so you know, we're still married and we get along better than ever before 15 years later. So don't worry about any divorce or anything like that. And and the third person is everybody else.
Hmm.
And I told her I'm getting ready to start making some big changes in my life. We had times before where I had tried to lose weight, and she always thought I was supposed to do it, by eating the chicken and the slim this and the slim that. And that didn't work for me.
Like the fad diets,
Yeah. Well, not even
quick
that. Just,
fixes.
yeah, no, just moderating your portions and stuff. And the problem with me was I was eating the wrong foods.
Hmm.
And I told her, I said, I'm going to start making some big changes in my life. You may like it and you may not like it. These are things that I have to do because if I don't do these things, I am going to be dead very shortly. Okay. I get the time, I wasn't 367 at the time, I was 320, 49 and a half, high blood pressure, but not
Hmm.
on high blood pressure medication, no knee surgeries yet, no heart attacks yet, no strokes yet. All those things were coming. And like I told you, my friend who used to eat my eating buddy, he dropped dead around the age of 58 from a heart attack in his sleep.
Hmm.
And I had actually talked to him like a week or so before, and I was trying to get him on a program like I was doing. And he said, yeah, I'm ready to start. And we never got around to it. And he dropped dead. So I have no doubt in my mind that the same thing would have happened to me. So I told her, I'm going to make these changes. You're going to like some of them, and you're not going to like some of them. And to be quite frank with you, I don't care. That's, you know how they say being selfish, there's good selfish and bad selfish. I
Hmm.
was extremely selfish that day, extremely, but it was all good selfish. I told her I was putting my oxygen mask on. And I told her, I'm going to make these changes. If you don't like them, I don't care. If you don't like them, there's the door right now. And I said, with all that said and done, I don't want you to walk out that door. I want you to, I love you and I want you to stick with me. And I hope you stick with me, which she has.
What was
And
her response in that moment, however?
she handled it okay. She was getting,
Okay.
taking it back, but she handled it okay. But, she didn't walk out the door. But, but I told her, I said, I don't care. I said, I have to do this or I'm going to be dead. Period. End of story. I said, I am going to start eating better right now. And I'm going to start exercising right now. And my exercise of choice is going to be walking. And little did I know how prophetic those words were. Because since that day, 15 years ago, I have walked. Actually, let me pull up the statistics while we're talking, because I keep track of this stuff. This is the CPA in me.
And you're a
Okay.
self-proclaimed professional walker now, right? I think I read that
Yes,
on your website
absolutely.
or heard it on a
Yes.
podcast.
Okay. Since that day, I have spent approximately 1,400,000 minutes walking.
Woo!
I have walked 63,061 miles.
Mm.
That equates to 23,271 hours. I have circumnavigated the globe at the equator, the equivalent of that, 2.53 times
Wow.
in that 15 years. I have walked 97 marathons. And marathons for me, they don't take 3, 4 hours like, somebody like you would, Lisa. They take me 10, 11, 12 hours because I walk slow. I
Which is
walk,
even more inspirational because you get it done no matter what. And you
yeah, I just,
continuously
yeah,
put your words to action.
yeah, I just do it. And as I said, I stopped tolerating bullshit for myself. And I have learned to make up my mind. And one of the reasons I like walking is because it doesn't tear me up. I mean, I'm 64, going to be 65 in a couple of months. You're a lot younger than that. But I'm sure you get soreness. I know I've seen pictures of your blisters and everything else, and, and you feel it. I like walking because it doesn't tear me up nearly as much as anything else would. Because there's no way I could do what I do without certain things I do. I do a lot of stretching. I have, those inversion machines where you flip
Yes,
upside
yes.
down.
Hmm.
I've been using one for almost 40 years because I have no doubt in my mind I would look like I'd be walking like this, sorry, like this instead of like this had I not had one of those. I mean, just yesterday after I finished my workout, I was beat up. And I felt bad. I got on that machine for like 8, 9, 10 minutes and just put everything back into place and
Yeah, good
loosened
for
up
spinal
and
traction. Yep.
yeah, and stretched and to feel better. And but I have gotten to the point where in my personal development system, which is called the Way of Excellence, which you can see at thewayofexcellence.com, and my latest book is available on there. It's free. I made it as a PDF. I made it free download on purpose, and it's a full length book. It took me several months to write. It's 370 pages. I made it free because I want to help people. I don't want money to get in the way of somebody doing what they need to do to help themselves. With all that said and done, if you're looking for somebody to coach you, somebody to help you, I'm happy to do that. I'm available to do that. And I'd love to do that. But I am so grateful for what I've done and what I've achieved that I want to give back. I remember who I was. I remember where I came from. And I want to help other people. And part of this whole thing, I have people ask me all the time, what is the number one piece of advice I would give to somebody, especially kids? And this ties into the biggest thing a parent can do for their child, which is teach them to believe in their abilities, their talents, and their ideas. See, and that was interesting. My mother always taught me that. I only had 8 years with her, and I remember, believe it or not, I remember quite a bit of it. And looking back at it in retrospect, it is obvious to me she knew she was dying. And I even had one of my uncles tell me that she told him around when I was born that she wouldn't live, you know, past 10 years or so to see me. She told him that then. She said, I'm not going to see Stanley grow up. And so she knew it. And she taught me to believe in myself and to push me. And then when I was living with my father didn't know those things. He was totally different. He grew up in the Depression. He had to quit school in 5th grade and go to work to help support his family. But what he taught me, be honest, hard work, don't be lazy, go to school every day. He didn't know what I was supposed to learn in school. He didn't know what I was supposed to do. He just knew I was supposed to go to school and I was supposed to do my work and I was supposed to get it done. That's all he knew. And he made sure I did those things. And so it's so important. I actually saw a thing on LinkedIn 2 days ago that reminded me about this. It was a teacher teaching elementary school kids who brought his doctoral gown, cap and gown, to class. And he had each of his students try on the doctoral gown and cap just so they could see what they could become and what it felt like. See, that's powerful. That's good stuff. And I take my hat off to him. I mean, I think that's fantastic. So it's believing in yourself. So many people, I talk to people who want to lose weight all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't believe they can do it on some level. You have to believe in yourself. It is possible. If you would have gone to me 15 years ago and told me I'm going to walk 63,000 miles, I'm going to walk around the equator 2.5 times, I'm going to walk 97 marathons, I'm going to weigh 145 pounds, I would have told you you're full of it. I wouldn't have believed in any of that stuff. And now I do it. I do it every day. And it is what we are capable of is amazing. I mean, there are things, but there are some things that are physical impossibilities. I will never become the starting second baseman for the Houston Astros. But I could talk to I could talk to somebody who has the talent to do that and help them get better at what they do and become the starting second baseman. That I can do. So yeah, there are some things that, just aren't possible, and age limitations and physical limitations and everything else. But I have been very fortunate in that, I was given a body at doesn't have a lot of diseases. I didn't have a lot of childhood diseases, didn't have any of those issues, everything. I mean, you hear other people, they're born with stuff. That's not their fault. And, but these were all things I had to learn. I had to take responsibility. First of all, I mean, just one thing, it's almost like a 12-step process. My thing is 20 steps. First thing is tell it like it is. Okay, telling it like it was, go back to 15 years ago. I was fat, I was out of shape, I was massively obese, I was in horrible health, and I was on my way to a heart attack or a stroke and early death.
And were you unhappy? I would probably assume that you were
Yeah,
unhappy as
yeah,
well.
yeah. That stuff hurt. I mean, was I
Mhm.
depressed? No. Was I as happy as I am today? No. I was functional. I went to work every day. I got my stuff done. Didn't, you paid my bills, did all the things, and everything else. Got along with people, but still, all those things were coming. Then I had to adopt a long-term approach. I had to sit there and say, I didn't put this weight on overnight. It's not going to come off in a week. It's not going to come off in a month. I don't know how long it's going to take. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take. All that matters is I'm doing the right thing today, tomorrow, the next day, the next day. And what happens, happens. And what happened with me was right away, I gave up three big things I gave up. I gave up red meat. I gave up soda pop. And what I used to drink diet caffeine-free Pepsi. So diet and caffeine-free, it's got to be okay, right? No. Uh, So I would drink those 2 liter bottles. I would drink 2 or 3 of them a day. Yeah. Gave that up and started drinking water. Believe it or not, that was more of a shock than anything. Because no offense, while water tastes really good, water doesn't taste like, you know, Pepsi. But
You
but I
put a
gave
plan into action and give up these three things along with the walking immediately, or was it step-by-step
no
process? Take us
immediately.
through it.
I made up
Immediately.
my
Okay.
mind. I made up my mind.
Okay.
Yeah, I told you I was done.
In
I
that
was
moment.
done.
Okay.
Yeah. And the third thing, actually, one of them took me a week to give up. Okay. I used to drink scotch
Mm.
and I would drink. Was I addicted? No. Was I drinking more than I should? Yes. So I would sit there, I would drink my scotch, and then I'd want to get up the next morning and go for a walk. Well, it took me after about a week or 10 days, I very quickly figured out that drinking scotch the night before was incompatible with getting up early in the morning to go walking. And I said, one of these activities needs to give.
Hmm.
So right then and there, quit drinking. Haven't had a drink since. And I won't drink. Just I have no desire for it. See, but that's
So your
where,
sober anniversary is coming up as well then, because
yeah,
February
yeah,
1st. Okay.
yeah. But when you talk about addiction,
Hmm.
see, to me, there's physical addiction and there's emotional addiction. I was not physically addicted to the food I ate. I didn't, when I stopped eating it, I didn't go through the shakes. I didn't get the detox, DTs, the detox.
Hmm.
I didn't go through withdrawal symptoms, but emotionally, I missed it big time. I would first, I would get up and I would have dreams where I ate something I shouldn't eat and I woke up in a cold sweat.
Wow.
And then I realized I actually didn't eat it. I go, oh, okay, well, good. I'm okay then. But in my dream, it was so vivid. I thought I ate it and I felt horrible because I did. That went on for probably a month or two
Hmm.
when I first started. So I gave up alcohol, red meat, and soda pop. Then about 4 or 5, but I was still eating turkey and chicken. Well, and I make great chicken. I mean, fantastic chicken. But I would do things like I would eat chicken wings. And you know how many chicken wings I would eat? I would eat 18 chicken wings. And I don't mean 18 sections of the chicken. Each wing has 3 sections. I would eat 18 chicken wings. So that'd be 54 sections.
And was that just your appetizer?
No, that was my meal. Uh, I would take a pound of turkey meat, a pound of pasta from the box, and I would make myself spaghetti, and then I would use, a half the jar of Parmesan cheese on it. And I was still eating bad, but I was eating better. And I started cutting those things down, reducing the portions, and I was doing the walking, so I was losing weight. And it was kind of an interesting experience. You familiar with Canyon Ranch Spa in Tucson?
No.
Okay. It's a nationally known health spa in Tucson, Arizona, worldwide known, 5-star resort, great place.
And you lecture there.
Well, I did for a while,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
they, I went there for my 50th birthday. My wife bought me a week there for my 50th birthday. And I had set myself a goal. When I first started exercising, I wasn't even walking outside. I was walking in the pool. I was going to 24-hour fitness at 4 in the morning because that's when the pool was empty.
Mm-hmm.
And I would walk back and forth links in the pool, and I would do that for hours every morning. And I set myself a goal that on my 50th birthday, I wanted to do a 5-hour pool walk. And so I set it up to go to Canyon Ranch, which is down in Tucson. So it's only a 2.5-hour drive from my house. And I called them ahead of time and I told them that you have to be willing to unlock the pool for me in the middle of the night so I can walk in the middle of the night, to the moonlight when there's nobody in the pool. Because otherwise, they have classes and stuff and, I'd get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, okay, fine, we're okay with that. So I had been to Canyon Ranch before. And every time you're there, there's always one person that's known as the fitness fanatic. And, that everybody talks about this person, that person. Well, during the week I was there, I became known as the 5-hour pool walk guy because I had announced that I was going to do this on my birthday. So everybody would see you go, oh, you're the 5-hour pool walk guy, and they're talking to me and everything. And so I did my 5 hours on my 50th birthday. The whole time I was doing this, they have a section called their lifestyle fitness section for people
Mm-hmm.
who are, a lot of them who are massively obese, have other health issues. There was this one young guy there who I had seen who was huge, and I kind of wanted to talk to him. After I had finished my 5-hour pool walk, he started talking to me. And the last day I was there, I was going to do like a 3-4 hour walk. And I said, get in the pool with me. And got in the pool with me and started walking and everything. Well, my 5-hour pool walk turned into my 3-hour pool walk turned into a 5.5-hour pool walk. So
Mm-hmm.
I passed my 5 hours, which, showed me these things. Then after I'd gotten by that time I had lost like 50 pounds. And I started getting better to where I felt better walking outside. And so I began walking outside in my neighborhood. There's a lot of great desert trails and stuff like that. But it was harder for me because, walking up my street, it's uphill and everything. And I remember the security guard used to tell me he didn't think I was going to make it up the street, huffing and puffing, huffing and puffing. And, but I did. And so kept going and going. Then after about 5 years of that, 4.5 years or so, I decided I'm going to go vegetarian. So I gave up my chicken and turkey.
And what
And
made you decide to go vegetarian at that point, 4 or 5 years later?
because I still wasn't getting where I wanted to be,
Results. Okay.
despite the walking. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew, and I knew on some level that that was a better thing to do and it was a healthier thing to do. And so I said, I'm going to go vegetarian. And so I gave up my chicken and turkey, and that was actually harder than giving up the red meat. Giving up the red meat was easy. Giving up the chicken and turkey, that was harder. But I did. I did that, and guess what? I started losing more weight, losing more weight, losing more weight. Everything was good. And around that time, I was doing a lot of talking with one of my older brothers, Ruben, who I think is probably going to be a future guest on your podcast. Um, just so people know, Ruben is getting ready to turn 80. He's skinny as a rail, or as I like to say, he's the first Bronstein who lost his butt. I'm the second one. He was the first, and he rows 2+ hours a day and is in fantastic shape for somebody who's getting ready to turn 80. And he was full blown. He had, been vegetarian for a long time, and he kind of just all of a sudden one day stopped eating chicken. He turned full blown vegan, and he didn't particularly announce a date that he did or anything. He just did. And we were talking about it. So, I kept thinking in my mind, I really should do that, should do that, should do that, should do that. So fast forward about 5 years later, actually about 5 years and a month or so ago, I was walking 10, 11, 12 miles a day. Couldn't get below 275 pounds. And my weight would go 275, 285, 275, 295, 275, 270, it would fluctuate, 20, 30-pound range. And I couldn't get smaller than that. So I was getting, you know what rolfing is, don't you?
Of
ROL.
course, yeah. Big fan of it.
Okay. I was at a rolfing session. I love my rolfer. She was a former Buddhist nun. If there's such a thing as a former Buddhist nun, I don't know if I don't think the word former applies. Just like there's no former Marines. But anyway, and I used to tell her, I joked with her. I said, I like getting worked on by you more for the talking with you than what you're doing for me. So we were talking, and I kept telling her, I know I need to go vegan. I know I need to make these changes. I need to do it. I need to do it. And she turned and she looked at me and said, Stanley, what's stopping you?
Hmm.
What do you think my answer was?
Yourself.
I said, not a damn thing.
Or that, yeah.
And I said, okay. A couple of weeks later, I went vegan. And I said, I wonder if I can get my weight down. I think before when I said 275, I meant 175 before I was talking about that. I was in my hundreds.
Mhm.
So I kept going between 175, 195, 170, that kind of thing, and not the 200s. I said that wrong. So I kept saying, I wonder if I turn vegan, if I can get down to 170 permanently. Well, I was wrong. I went vegan. I didn't get down to 170 permanently. I got down to 130.
And at this point, was it whole food plant-based? Because there
Whole
is a
food,
difference.
plant-based,
Yes.
no salt, no added salt, no oils, no sugars. Whole thing.
Okay, yeah.
Dr.
Just to be
Esselstyn,
clear.
yeah, Dr. Esselstyn program to the max. None of those things. Got down to 130, and I sort of had to get down to 130 because I needed to get the fat off of me because that fat had been on my body for 40 years. And you kind of got to get it off. And as I was doing that, a couple of things became obvious to me. One is I learned that as you lose the weight, all the things you did wrong that are stored in your fat cells.
Mhm.
And as you're burning off that fat, you're going to feel it on the way. Like, for example, when I got down to the weight where I injured one of my knees in college, I had a month where I felt like I was a pinata and somebody hung me upside down and beat me with a baseball bat. I didn't walk. It was a whole month. I felt horrible. And my body was just detoxing all this stuff. And I was stuck and stuck and stuck. And then all of a sudden, one day I felt better and I lost like 20 pounds overnight. It was like I was stuck on a plateau and
Mhm.
reliving that. So I had to get the weight off to get rid of a lot of this stuff. And mind you, I was getting off fat. I mean, I weigh less now than I did when I was 12, 13 years old, which is a scary thought. And when you
Mm-hmm.
think about it, or an impressive thought, depending on you think about it. But I realized that I had to get it off, but I also realized I was too thin. It was not healthy. And so I said, I took it to myself. I said, I'm going to put 10, 15, 20 pounds back on, but I want to make sure it's all muscle, not fat.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing a lot of resistance band training, a lot of other things, a lot of stuff on the water rower, um, and things like that to put muscle on, not fat. And now I'm right around between 145 and 150, and I feel fine. I feel great,
And
because I'd gotten too thin. And so, but it's very interesting that I had about 9 months ago, I had to go back to Houston, which is where I'm from, for a family wedding. And I had people who hadn't seen me in 30, 40 years. When they walked in, they didn't recognize me.
mm-hmm.
Asked my brother, is that Stanley?
Who's this imposter?
Yeah. And all this, and the answer is it was the slim me that was inside me all the time and screaming to get out. And I'll tell you something else funny. Do you believe in affirmation tapes?
Yeah.
Okay. There was a program by a company that's since gone out of business. Um, company, it was a thing called Slim Forever. Slim Forever. It was on cassette tape.
Mm-hmm. What's that? No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Really, what is that? People don't know. Well, anyway, I managed to track down a copy of that cassette along with a couple other ones they did, like one on concentration, another one improve your memory, and another one called You're Irresistible, which I cannot find a copy of. I wished I could. I've researched, I've tried to find it, can't find it anywhere. And I sat there and I digitized all that stuff. So I started listening to it again. And when I started this thing 15 years ago, and it is amazing if you listen to it. It says things like the healthiest of foods will explode with flavor in your mouth. I'll eat until I'm hungry and I will not eat one bite more. Things like that. You know, there's always been a slim me inside. All those things. Every single stinking thing that was in that CD has come to pass. Every single thing. It's like it was a roadmap that predicted the future. And it's all it's all taking personal responsibility, embracing change, not fearing change. We don't want to change. Everybody talks to me about what I gave up. I gave up meat. I gave up booze. You know, I gave up soda. I didn't give up a thing. I gained everything. I gained my health, people.
Mm-hmm.
And I focus on the long term. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I tell people, you're going to think I'm crazy when I say this. I have my next 100 years planned out.
I love it.
And whether or not I live to see the end of that 100 years, don't know. But that's my plan. And the only way to get there is to be healthy. And all I know is with all the crazy things I do, I listened to a program. My brother actually told me about this. My brother Reuben told me about this. When he's on the rower, he listens to health programs, and I've been getting him. I've turned him on, to people like Dr. Greger,
Mm-hmm.
and and things like I've turned Joel Kahn. I've turned him on to all these guys, and he's been listening to them. And he listened to some doctor, I don't know the name, made the comment that said, if you exercise for more than 1 hour a day, you're fooling yourself. You're not doing yourself any favors and you're hurting yourself and all this. And I told my brother, I said, that's preposterous. It all depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it, and you have to build up to it. But I told him, every single day I exercise. Every single day I walk 10, 11, 12 miles minimum.
Mm-hmm.
I get on the rower. I do a bunch of other stretching, a bunch of other things. My average daily exercise consumes 5 hours of my day, 5, 6 hours of my day, every day. And I'm able to do that because I work for myself. I work from home. I have a computer I put on my treadmill so I can actually work while I'm on the treadmill, walking
That's
slow.
helpful.
Yeah, so I did all these things. And all I know is this, and I'm not trying to tempt fate here. In the last 10 and a half years, I have been sick one time, and it was for 3 days. And with the exception of those 3 days, I have walked 2 or more hours a day every single day for that 10 and a half years. And those 3 days, that was almost 6 years ago. So I'm coming up on 6 years when I've walked 2 hours or more a day in a row for 6 years. And that's
Amazing.
during COVID. That's during COVID. So I've been sick one time in 10 years, including COVID, all while doing what this doctor says you shouldn't do.
You must be doing something right.
Yeah. And that was the whole thing. And let's go back to Canyon Ranch when I started this thing 15 years ago. All of their trainers saw what I was doing and they were talking to me when I was in the pool. And they were telling me, Stanley, why do you exercise so slowly and for such long periods of time? You should exercise fast, 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 really high intensity for shorter durations. That will do the same thing or do more or do better. And I said, I exercise slowly because it doesn't beat my body up, doesn't tear me up. And this is what people leave out. I actually had this discussion with Joel Kahn about this. He talks about just do a short workout, really high intensity. And I said, you're leaving out the emotional aspects that you get from a long workout. You do Spartan training, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Does your brain chemistry change during one of your long training sessions?
Oh,
Your
100%.
Spartan races?
Yep. It builds great resilience and yeah, mental
Yeah,
acuity, all of that. Yep.
yeah, all those things. So I said you're leaving out the mental aspects of the whole thing. And that's why I like to do what I do. And it works for me. That's what I tell people. You do not have to do what I do. You do not have to be as intense at it as I am. You do, or Lisa is. You do not have to do what I do, but you need to do what you need to figure out what works for you and you need to do it. And it is your privilege to do it. You are still alive. You still have a chance. I know people who died. I had an older brother who went in for bypass surgery, and I had been trying to get him on a program, not Ruben, another one. I had
Mm-hmm.
been trying to get him on a program to do what I was doing for years. Couldn't get him to start. And he went in for surgery and he told his wife, when I get home, I'm going to talk to Stanley. I'm going to start doing what Stanley does. He didn't make it home. He died in the hospital. So what I tell people is, as long as you're alive, it's not too late. You can do something. Start slow. I didn't start out walking 12 miles a day. I started out walking to the end of my block and back and was huffing and puffing while I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It grows over time. Be kind to yourself. Believe in yourself. It's consistency. It's taking consistent action. For example, I said I want to be healthy and I want to walk every day. I was drinking scotch every day. That action is not consistent with a person who walks every day. So I quit drinking scotch. Period. End of story. And stick with it. Persist, persist, persist. Believe in yourself. Be true to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. You know, create balance in your life. Figure out I think I've asked you this before, Lisa. Do you have a definition for a balanced life? What is it when you're creating a balanced life? What does that mean to you?
It's creating a life where I have plenty of time to get the essentials done, and then also plenty of time to do what makes me happy, to follow my passions, to live fully, aside from, the everyday, you must do this and you must do that to pay the bills and the necessities to get through. A balanced life means that I have time for all of the things that I love to do while still doing what needs to get done to pay the bills and, all of the things that humans must do to live a
Okay.
life.
Okay. So now let me ask you this. Can you tell me in two or three sentences or less,
Mm-hmm.
how does one person go about doing that? I can. I'll tell you what it is in a minute, but if you want to take a stab at it, go for it.
I mean, for me, it'd be like creating a structured schedule, creating goals, and setting time aside in my actual calendar for what needs to get done versus what I'd like to do to fill up my soul and be able to nourish mind, body, and spirit.
Okay, that's one of the steps, but that's not the
Hmm.
process. Here's
Okay, what
the
is the process?
here's the process. The process is five step process. Identify everything that's excessive in your life. Okay. Write down a list of ways you can decrease all those things that are excessive. Then identify everything that is deficient in your life and write down a list of things you can do to increase those things that are deficient. And then step 5 is do it. Do everything you identified in steps 2 and 4.
Hmm.
So, what are your excesses? What are your deficiencies? What do you need to do to balance those out? And then do it. That's it in a nutshell. Drinking too
True.
much, drinking too much, stop drinking. Not getting any exercise, start exercising. Eating crap, stop eating crap. Not eating enough healthy food, start eating nothing but healthy food. And I didn't do this. I didn't do this overnight, people. It took me longer than I would like to admit that it took me to do this. It took me, really 10 years into the process, almost 10 years into the process to flip the final switch. But what I've done, I've been on a 15-year journey where my goal at every rebirth day, which is February 1st of every year, and today's January 27th, every rebirth day is to go back, look back at the previous year and realize that how much I have improved over that last year and how much further along I am over that last year. And I have been 15 years in a row where I have improved myself.
So is it fair to say that change requires brutal honesty? Like step one
Yeah,
is awareness,
yeah.
identifying what needs to be changed. Often we lie to ourselves, we rationalize our behaviors, we make excuses, we look
Mm-hmm.
to the future. So how do we
Been,
initiate
been,
that
been, been
change
there, been
in
there,
other
done
people?
that. Been there, done. How would you say, how
Like
do
what's
I,
your number one tip or advice for the people who don't believe in themselves? Because we discussed that being an obstacle, number
it
one,
is
but number
possible.
two, yeah.
It is possible. I am
Well,
living.
take us through your process when you work with somebody. I know you just kind of outlined it.
Okay, the first thing is I find out where they're at. We take an inventory. Where are you? Where are you at? What do you have going for you? What are your assets? What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? You know, those types of things. And what do you want? What is your list of goals? What do you truly want? And ask. And I go, you haven't gotten these things. So obviously you're doing something wrong. You know, it's just like I said before I turned Whole Foods plant-based. I sat there and I was walking 12 miles a day and I couldn't get below 170 pounds. And I spent a lot of that time at 190 pounds. So I said, obviously I was doing something wrong. And the answer was it was cheese. Cheese. Cheese is the worst food, and cheese is the worst food ever made on the planet Earth. And
Highly addicting.
It's also unfortunately one of the best tasting.
It was the last thing I gave up in my journey. Another
Yeah.
story for another day.
Yeah. Cheese is delicious, but it's crap. It's not healthy. And so it's realizing that it's possible, believing in yourself, developing the discipline to do it, making a commitment to doing it, and putting the whole package together. See, I was an interesting case. When I was 49 and a half, I was a CPA, I was an attorney, and I had a highly successful law and accounting practice doing tax and real estate. Highly successful practice. Was I a success? No. I weighed 320 pounds. Physically, I was miserable. I looked like shit.
And you were a hypocrite, right? I heard
Yeah.
you say that. Those are your
Yeah.
words.
Yes, I was a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
I was. You know, I had already written self-help books on how to get your life together, and I'm walking around at 320 pounds. Obviously, I wasn't practicing what I was preaching. And, you know, and I had an interesting thing. 2 years before I started this journey, I had started losing weight and I was walking and I ruptured my Achilles tendon. And I put all the weight back on and a little bit more. And I was at my office one day and this other attorney came to an event that I had there. And he had seen me. He hadn't seen me in a while. And he saw that I had gained weight. And I told him, Mike, I said, you know, I said, yeah, I had lost weight. He said, what happened? I said, lost weight, but I ruptured my Achilles. I had to stop walking and I put all the weight back on. And he said something, he'll deny it to this day. He doesn't remember he said it because it was really cruel when you think about it, but it struck home. He said, well, I see you were able to walk to the dinner table. He told me that. That's a pretty nasty, brutal comment. Are you there? I don't know if I can hear you.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, I can't hear you because okay. So he but it struck home. He was right.
Tough love, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's we need to stop bullshitting ourselves. And it's funny. People ask me to describe the ultimate diet. I'm going to write, I've always said I'm going to write a diet book. And you know what the title of the diet book is going to be? Eat no shit. That's
All
it.
right.
That's it.
It's that simple words of wisdom. Eat no shit.
It really is that simple. We make life is simple. We make it complicated. And, but it's all about, so I had my mind had led me to become an attorney and a CPA and successful. My body was out of whack. I was totally out of touch with my body, and it was affecting my spirit. So I sat there and I said, I need to get in touch with my body. And I started listening to my body, and I started paying attention to my body. And the funny thing was, I got to the point where I flipped the switch, and I got to the point where my mind was a little out of whack, and my body, I was more in touch with my body. And then it's all a matter of balancing it all out. And that's where my whole system that focuses on step number 20 is integrating your mind, body, and spirit. And I always say, focus your mind, learn to focus your mind, train your body, feed your spirit. This is your time. Or to put it, can you see this? If I can put it up here on the wall. Do you see
Be
that?
limitless. Yep. Focus your mind, train your body, feed your
Feed your
spirit.
spirit.
This is your time. Yep.
You are powerful beyond measure. Okay, so
Love it.
that's the whole thing in a nutshell. Pulling it all together, balancing. And balance works on many different levels. And it's not just, you may balance your schedule and you need to balance your food and you balance this, you balance that. And when you balance them all, you pull them all together into balance. And your mind, having a balanced mind feeds your body and your spirit. Having a balanced body feeds your mind and your spirit. And having a balanced spirit feeds your mind and your body.
That's a great
Oh,
point. You can't holistically change your body if one thing's out of balance. So I'm glad that you brought that point up. And in your words, perfection doesn't exist, but excellence does. So can you expound on that concept just a
yeah.
little bit?
I used to be a perfectionist. I used to be a 300 plus pound perfectionist. I would complain about how people around me were not as competent as I was, couldn't work as hard as I did, took longer to do things than I did. But I'm walking around at 320 plus pounds. So obviously there was something I hadn't figured out and implemented, put in place. I stopped trying to be perfect. Perfection does not exist. Excellence does. And the goal is to get better each and every day. You work on that, and I actually did something the other day. This is as of 15 years. They say, you ever heard the saying that if you can get 1% better every day,
Yep.
it compounds? Okay. You're going to laugh. I have been working on getting 1% better every day for 15 years. I actually did an Excel spreadsheet on this to calculate this.
Of course you did. That's the CPA in you.
Okay. When I hit my 15th birthday, assuming I've improved 1% every day, I will have improved 452 sextillion%.
Wow.
That's not million, billion, trillion, quadrillion,
Can't even
quintillion.
count that high.
Yes, 452 sextillion. It's a heck of a spreadsheet. It has 5,475 rows in it to calculate the number. But it works, people. Don't focus on the day. They tell you that, I've never been to Alcoholics Anonymous or Overeaters Anonymous, or I did Weight Watchers, which I'm not a big fan of Weight Watchers anymore because they're starting to, tell people take Wegovy, take Ozempic. And I'm also not a fan of weight loss surgery, bariatric surgery. I will support people who've had the surgery. I will work with people who've had the surgery. I will work with people who are on Ozempic or Wegovy, but I don't believe in it because the bottom line is it's all about learning to eat right, and exercise. And we all have that power within ourselves. And what I like about your work, Lisa, is you know what you're doing. You tell people to eat properly. And the difference between you and me is I tell people to eat properly also, but I don't make it look nearly as pretty as you do. I
Yes.
mean, you look at some of my food. I have like I'm actually making a batch of there's an Indian dish called chole, and it's
Yes.
got chickpeas in it and tomatoes and other stuff in it. And I'm making a batch of it right now. And you know, it doesn't look so hot and appetizing. I mean, you might think it's something your dog left, for you, but it's delicious and it's extremely healthy.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, well, yeah, but well, if you're gonna run a restaurant or you're gonna be a chef like you, it has to look good too. Um, so that's where, it impresses me that you're able to do that, and that kind of thing. Um, so, I really, this is the second time you and I have talked other than corresponding a lot on Facebook. For whatever it's worth, I am very proud of you. I admire you very much. I think what you are doing is fantastic. And I think that if there were more people like you in the world, that would be a good thing, not a bad thing.
Well, thank you, Stanley. And you too inspire me. You've been through this incredible journey. You have an open, generous, kind, loving spirit, heart, so willing to share all of you. And I really appreciate that about you. And I guess I can move on to my concluding question. What does free-flowing health mean to you?
Integration of mind, body, spirit. It goes back to what do you feed your mind? Like, it's not just food, put it that way. It's not just food to me. And it's not just your body, it's your mind, body, and spirit. Like, for example, I was talking to a young guy yesterday, who I was introduced to. He's looking for somebody to mentor him, and I did a Zoom chat with him, and I was talking with him, and he kept using the word try, try. I'm trying to do this, and I'm trying to do that. And I said, no. In the immortal words of Yoda, do or do not. There is no try. Your brain hears that word try, and it thinks you haven't got there yet. You're not trying to do this. You're doing this. You may not be there yet. You may not be finished yet, but you're doing it. I am living a healthy lifestyle. I am not trying to get 1% better every day. I am getting 1% better every day. Where am I going to end up? I don't know. Doesn't matter. All that matters is that I continue doing it and enjoying the journey. So it's putting good thoughts into your head, putting good food into your body. Remember, the purpose of your food is to fuel your body. It is not to provide you, the primary purpose of your food is to fuel your body. It is not for your personal enjoyment. Now, once you have satisfied that primary purpose of fueling your body, it is okay and advisable to choose foods such as what I believe in, as natural as possible, none of this ultra processed garbage that you get from McDonald's and Burger King and everywhere else. And that's my opinion, people. So there's no defamation here. That you put that good stuff into your body and you fuel yourself, but you pick foods that you enjoy eating. Okay. I don't enjoy mushrooms. I do. When I started this journey, I went back and I started resampling all the foods that I wouldn't eat when I was a child. And lo and behold, all of a sudden I would start eating many of them. Mushrooms were not one of those. I didn't like them as a child, and I still don't like them as an adult.
I'm with you on that. Just the texture. I can infuse things and extract the flavor, but I will not eat a mushroom unless it's exotic, which is like its own category of its
Yeah,
own.
seeing what I do instead, mushrooms are very healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do instead is I take 3 different mushroom supplements: lion's mane,
For
reishi, and
memory,
cordyceps.
that
You know,
immune system.
yeah. So I make sure I get mushrooms in my system, but I hate the taste. I don't know why. Don't like it. So, other people, my wife, she loves mushrooms. She eats them. I go, good. God bless you. Eat plenty of them. They're good for you. As long as you don't put all this garbage on top of it, and everything else. Cheese sauce, and stuff like that. But and then your spirit. How are you spending your time? Who are you hanging around with? Okay. You and I have been talking for an hour and 24 minutes right now. It's a long time. I can tell you with a straight face that I am enjoying talking to you, talking with you. I am feeding off your energy. You are the kind of person I like to hang around. You're the kind of person I want to be with. All those things. And no, and you can tell Joe that this is not competition. Um, he's probably laughing now if he's listening to this.
He can't hear you because I have the headphones on. I'm
Okay,
still trying to figure that out.
you can still tell him.
I'll tell him. I'll relay the message.
But you're the kind of person I want to hang around. And I want to hang other people. I want to listen to who you interview. I've already sent you 2 other people I want you to interview, and I'm getting ready to send you my older brother, Reuben. They're the kind of people I want to hang around. They're, you hang around people who are downers, it's going to take you down. You hang around people who are positive, who are full of life, who are full of energy, you're going to be full of life. You're going to be full of energy. It's all those things. Who do you associate with? Who do you hang around? How do you spend your time? What do you watch on TV? Do you watch all this garbage on TV, or do you watch? I mean, I limit myself to 30 minutes of TV every night. And I watch as I'm going to bed. And honestly, sometimes I think that's too much. And I take that back. 30 minutes of TV every night, and I still watch my Star Trek. I have to watch my Star Trek. I do enjoy that. But I also believe that's quality programming. Um, so it's all those things. Use Life is wonderful. It has its ups and downs. It can be pleasant. It can be painful. There are good days. There are bad days. There are days where you just want to hang it up and you want to say, screw it. Don't. Persist, people. Persist, persist, persist. Believe in yourself. You can do it. I encourage people, download a free copy of my book. It's at thewayofexcellence.com. And there's a link right there. You just click it. You enter your email address. You download a PDF of the book. It's it's a fillable PDF. So it's a book that asks you questions and gives you space to answer the questions inside the book. Kind of thing. And like I said, it's free. There's no reason. I'm not trying to make any money off you. I'm not trying to take anything from you. I want to help you. When you read that, if you like it, feel free to contact me. Let me know what's going on. On my website, you're able to book a 20-minute Zoom chat with me for free. I encourage you to do that. Book it. Let's sit down and talk. And if you're looking to get started, whatever, I'm here to help. I think we live in a very messed up world right now, but I think it is also fantastic. The power of possibilities, what we can achieve with the technology we have, the experience we have, with the knowledge we have is fantastic if we use it properly. But we need to stop BSing ourselves. We need to stop blaming everybody else for our problems. We need to be kind to each other, compassionate toward each other. We need to care about each other. You know, what happens to you, I'll share one last story with you if we can.
Mhm.
I had probably 12 years ago, 10, 12 years ago or so. My wife and I were driving to Durango, Colorado from Arizona. And we were in New Mexico. And we stopped off at a Dairy Queen to go to the bathroom. And she wanted to get something to drink. And I went into the bathroom. There was a guy who had been out walking. He was all sweaty. He'd been out walking. He was in the bathroom of Dairy Queen filling his water bottles with water from the sink because he didn't have money. And he was out walking and everything. And the guy sat there and he asked me, he said, "Can you help me?" And I said the typical thing that I had said many times before that we all say, "No, sorry, I can't." Now I turned around and I walked out. 5 minutes later, I told my wife about that. I felt terrible. I said, that was wrong. I could help that guy and I should help that guy. And I spent the next half an hour driving up and down the road looking for him. And we could not find him. And I wanted to give him some money and I wanted to help him and I couldn't find him. And I felt terrible afterwards. So I swore to myself from that day forward that whenever somebody asks me for help, I will not tell them no. So I'm constantly getting hit up by homeless people when I go to the grocery store. I go to the Korean market. Every time I go there, it winds up costing me an extra $5 or $10 because I get hit up by somebody on the way walking out. Happens every time, and things like that. But I don't tell people no because I am extremely fortunate. I have a roof over my head. I have my health. I have a good life. It is not my duty or my obligation to help other people who are less fortunate than me. It is my privilege to help them. And so I have learned to help other people because, yes, I have had people who have helped me. Not always the people you wanted to help me, not always in the way I wanted them to help me, but I have had people who have helped me.
Well,
And
and you're helping an incredible number of people out there, whether you know it or not. So thank you for giving back.
thank you. I appreciate it. Anything
Yes,
else?
You're a man of integrity. You're walking your walk. You're talking your talk. You're an incredible inspiration. Just keep motivating people out there. Definitely, whoever's listening to this, if you need help getting started, how can they connect with you aside from visiting your website? Can they find you on social media?
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn. Just look up Stanley Bronstein, Bronstein, and you'll have that there. You have my email address, correct? You're welcome to put
Yes. Well, yep.
you're welcome to put my email address on this. You have my cell phone number. You're welcome to put my cell phone number on there. And you are welcome. Just say, I heard you listening to Lisa's podcast. Help, please help. Or can I talk to you or whatever? And I'll talk with you because remember what I just said. When somebody asks me for help, I don't tell them no.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story, your insights. Thank you for being real and not being a bullshit artist. I appreciate your energy and your time, and we'll have to do this again soon.
Sounds great.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Free Flowing Health podcast. Your support means the world to us. Help us grow by leaving a positive rating and review. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share this podcast. If you'd like to stay connected, you can find me on social media at Free Flowing Health or visit my website directly, freeflowinghealth.com. wishing you a happy, healthy, and fulfilling life. Till the next time.
This podcast is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, health, or professional advice. We are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast. This podcast is not intended to replace professional or medical advice. Views and opinions expressed by the guest are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the view of the host or the Free Flowing Health team.